Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dream Room. Before you spend $500, $1,000, or even more on a brand new patio set, do one simple thing first. Walk through your garage, shed, balcony, or backyard and look at what you already own. That old door leaning against the wall? It could become the back of a garden bench. A tree stump could become a side table. Two large planters can create privacy around a chair. Even an old wheelbarrow, wooden crate, or leftover plank can become part of a beautiful outdoor space. And here is the important part. Your backyard does not need to look like a furniture showroom. If you have a narrow side yard, a 6 by 8 foot patio, a small townhouse garden, a rented deck, or just one quiet corner outside, you can still create a space that feels comfortable, personal, and finished. Maybe you are over 60 and no longer want projects that require heavy lifting, complicated power tools, or an entire weekend of construction. Maybe you live in an apartment and need everything to stay movable. Maybe your garage is already full, your budget is modest, or you simply hate buying new things when something useful is sitting only a few feet away. This video is for you. The biggest mistake I see in small gardens is not a lack of furniture. It is too much furniture, placed without a clear purpose. One comfortable chair in the right location can be more useful than a 6-piece outdoor set in the wrong one. A bench placed in afternoon shade, with a small table within arm's reach and 2 tall plants behind it, can instantly become a reading corner. Add a lantern or a small fountain, and suddenly that forgotten part of the yard has a reason to exist. That is what we are going to explore today. We will turn reclaimed wood into seating, combine benches with plants, reuse stumps and old garden objects, create vertical storage, build relaxing hammock corners, and arrange mismatched furniture so it looks intentional rather than accidental. And some of the best ideas require almost no building at all. Before we begin, take a quick look around your own home. Think of one item you have considered throwing away. Keep it in mind, because by the end of this video, you may see it completely differently. If you enjoy practical decorating ideas, small space solutions, natural materials, and simple projects that make your home and garden feel more beautiful without making life more complicated, subscribe to Dream Room. Now let's start with one of the most satisfying transformations, turning an old door and a few pieces of reclaimed wood into a garden bench that looks as though it has always belonged there. 1. Turn old doors and reclaimed wood into a custom garden bench. If you have an old wooden door sitting in a garage or shed, do not throw it away yet. A solid door can become the visual centerpiece of a backyard bench, especially in a small patio, where one strong feature often works better than several pieces of furniture. Start with the simplest version. Use an existing sturdy bench or build a basic seat from reclaimed boards. Then place the old door vertically behind it as the back panel. You do not need perfect lumber, complicated joinery, or a workshop full of tools. In fact, slightly weathered wood often looks better outdoors. Scratches, old paint, knots, and uneven grain give the bench character. If the door still has faded blue, green, or white paint, you may only need to sand loose areas and protect the surface with an exterior clear coat. For a small 6 by 8 foot patio, keep the bench around 4 to 5 feet wide. That is usually enough for 2 adults without making the space feel crowded. Comfort matters more than style, especially if you are over 60 or simply want furniture that is easy to use every day. Aim for a seat height of roughly 17 to 19 inches. Very low rustic benches may look charming in photographs, but they can be uncomfortable when you have to stand up repeatedly. Add one firm outdoor cushion instead of several loose pillows. It is easier to maintain, quicker to move before rain, and creates less visual clutter. Now soften the hard edges. Place one large terracotta pot on each side of the bench. Fill them with lavender, rosemary, ornamental grass, or another plant that fits your climate. If the bench faces a neighbor's window or a busy walkway, choose taller plants toward the back. You get privacy without building a full fence. This idea also works beautifully with old shutters, sections of reclaimed fencing, or even a weathered wooden gate. And if you rent your home, make the entire arrangement freestanding. Nothing needs to be permanently attached to a wall. Here is the design trick that makes it work. Do not try to hide the age of the materials. Let the old wood look old. Then repeat one detail nearby. If the door has black metal hardware, add a black lantern. If it has faded green paint, use a planter or cushion with a similar tone. Suddenly, the bench no longer looks recycled. It looks designed. And once you understand that principle, the next idea becomes even more useful, combining seating and planting into one compact zone so a tiny backyard can do two jobs at the same time. 2. Combine a bench and planters to save space. If your patio is small, every square foot needs to earn its place. Instead of squeezing a bench, several flower pots, and separate privacy screens into the same corner, combine them visually into one compact seating zone. The simplest setup starts with one bench and 2 large planters. Place one planter at each end of the seat. This immediately gives the bench a sense of structure, almost like 2 natural armrests framing the space. For a 6 by 8 foot patio, this arrangement is especially useful because it gives you seating, greenery, and partial privacy without filling the center of the patio. Now think in 3 layers. Use the tallest plants toward the outside or behind the bench. Ornamental grasses, compact bamboo varieties suitable for containers, or upright shrubs can help soften views from neighboring windows, sidewalks, or nearby patios. Next comes the middle layer. Lavender, rosemary, geraniums, or medium-height flowering plants add color and texture around eye level when you are seated. Finally, allow one trailing plant to spill gently over the edge of the planter. That simple tall-medium trailing combination makes an ordinary bench look far more carefully designed, and you do not need 10 different plant varieties. 2 large containers with 3 well-chosen plant shapes can often look better than a dozen small pots scattered across the floor. That matters in a narrow courtyard, townhouse garden, balcony, or rented deck where clutter can make the space feel even smaller. If lifting heavy pots is difficult, especially as you get older, place the containers on sturdy rolling plant bases before filling them with soil. A large wet planter can become surprisingly heavy. Putting wheels underneath from the beginning means you can move it later for cleaning, winter protection, or a different seating arrangement without struggling. You can also use wooden planter boxes if they suit the style of your bench. The key is to make the seating and planting feel like one composition rather than separate objects pushed together. Keep the center area clear. Leave enough room in front of the bench to stand comfortably, carry a watering can, or walk past without turning sideways. Once the plants mature, this small corner can feel surprisingly private. You have not built a wall. You have simply used furniture and greenery more intelligently. And if you like the warmth of natural materials, the next idea goes even further, using tree stumps and logs as furniture that already belongs in the landscape. 3. Use tree stumps and logs as natural outdoor furniture. If you have recently trimmed a tree or removed an old branch, do not assume the wood belongs in the firewood pile. A solid stump or thick section of log can become one of the simplest pieces of outdoor furniture in your garden. The easiest option is a side table. Choose a broad stump with a reasonably flat top and place it beside your favorite chair. It can hold a cup of coffee, a book, gardening gloves, or a small lantern without taking up much space. For a small patio or narrow garden, this works especially well because the stump adds function without introducing another bulky piece of furniture. You can also use 2 sturdy stumps as supports for a reclaimed wooden plank. Place the plank across the tops, secure it properly, and you have a simple rustic bench. The natural shapes are part of the appeal. The wood does not need to be perfectly straight, and the bark does not need to look identical from one side to the other. Knots, cracks, and irregular grain help the furniture blend into the landscape rather than looking like something brought home from a showroom. But stability comes first. Before using a stump as a seat or table, make sure the bottom is flat enough that it does not rock. Remove loose bark, splinters, and any sharp edges that could catch clothing or scratch skin. If you plan to sit on it regularly, add a removable outdoor cushion. This is especially helpful if you are over 60 or simply prefer a softer, more comfortable surface. A cushion also lets you keep the natural look of the wood without sacrificing comfort. Stumps can also work as plant stands. Use different heights to display terracotta pots beside a bench or along a garden wall. One taller stump can hold a fern or flowering container, while a shorter one can support a lantern or watering can. The result feels layered without requiring complicated construction. And because the material already comes from the garden, it naturally connects with stone paths, gravel, planting beds, and wooden fences. That is the real strength of this idea. You are not forcing furniture into the landscape. You are turning part of the landscape into furniture. And once you begin looking at old materials this way, even forgotten garden equipment starts to look useful again. Which brings us to an old wheelbarrow, wooden crates, and garden carts waiting for a completely different second life. 4. Give an old wheelbarrow, crate, or garden cart a second life. Some of the most useful backyard pieces are the ones you already stopped noticing. An old wheelbarrow, wooden crate, or garden cart may look worn out, but with the right placement, it can become part of the design instead of something hidden behind the shed. Start with the wheelbarrow. If the frame is still stable, it can become a mobile flower display. Fill the tray with pots rather than soil if you want to keep the arrangement easy to change. Move it beside a bench, near a garden path, or into an empty corner that needs color. A wheelbarrow can also work as a simple drink station when family or friends visit. Add a flat, stable surface inside the tray and use it to hold bottles, glasses, or a small container of ice. If the wheelbarrow is too weak for practical use, keep it decorative. Do not force an old frame to become a chair just because it looks interesting. Safety matters more than novelty. Wooden crates are even easier to reuse. A sturdy crate placed on its side can become a small table beside a garden chair. Stack 2 crates carefully and you gain both a surface and open storage for gloves, cushions, watering cans, or small pots. In a balcony or narrow patio, this is especially useful because one object can do more than one job. You can also use crates vertically. Place them against a wall or fence and turn them into a compact display for herbs, small planters, and lightweight garden tools. Then there is the garden cart. If you already use one for moving soil or tools, let it become part of the furniture arrangement instead of hiding it after every job. A sturdy cart can hold outdoor cushions, pots, gardening supplies, or blankets. When you need more floor space, simply roll it away. This flexibility is valuable if you rent, have limited storage, or prefer not to lift heavy objects every time you rearrange the patio. The key is restraint. Choose one unusual recycled object as the surprise element. If you fill the entire yard with old equipment, the space can quickly feel cluttered. But one wheelbarrow full of flowers or one pair of wooden crates beside a bench can look intentional. Check every item for sharp metal, unstable joints, rust, loose nails, and weak wood before placing it where people walk or sit. Once these forgotten objects become useful again, the next step is to solve another common problem in small gardens: where to keep firewood, pots, and tools without sacrificing valuable floor space. 5. Create a vertical storage wall for firewood, plants, and garden tools. If your backyard feels crowded, the problem may not be how much you own. It may simply be that too many things are sitting on the ground. A vertical storage wall can solve that without taking away the space you need for walking, seating, or relaxing. Start with a simple shelving structure placed against a wall, fence, or sheltered garden boundary. It does not need to look perfectly finished. Reclaimed boards, weathered timber, and slightly uneven shelves can actually make the storage feel warmer and more natural. Use the lower sections for heavier items. Stack firewood neatly near the bottom, where it is easier to reach and less likely to make the structure feel top-heavy. Then use the middle shelves for the things you handle most often. That might include a watering can, a basket of gardening gloves, small terracotta pots, hand tools, or a few containers of seeds. For older viewers, this placement matters. Try to keep the most frequently used items somewhere between knee and shoulder height. That reduces unnecessary bending, crouching, or stretching every time you need a trowel or pair of scissors. The upper shelves can become more decorative. Add a lantern, a trailing plant, an empty ceramic pot, or another lightweight object that brings a little character to the wall. This is where the storage begins to feel like part of the garden, rather than just a place to hide things. You can also add a few simple hooks. Use them for pruning scissors, lightweight hand tools, gloves, or a small watering wand. The goal is not to display everything you own. It is to keep a small number of useful objects visible, organized, and easy to reach. That is especially helpful in a narrow patio, townhouse garden, or compact backyard where every open section of floor makes the space feel larger. And because the structure rises vertically, you gain storage without crowding the main seating area. Mix practical items with plants. A row of stacked firewood beside 2 terracotta pots and a trailing vine can look surprisingly intentional. The uneven grain of old wood, the round shapes of pots, and the greenery help soften the structure. Instead of looking like backyard storage, it starts to feel like a feature wall. And once the floor is clear and the tools have a proper place, you can use that extra space for something much more enjoyable. The next idea creates a relaxing hammock or hanging chair corner without depending on 2 perfectly placed trees. 6. Build a freestanding hammock or hanging chair corner. A relaxing hammock corner sounds wonderful, but many people give up on the idea because they do not have 2 trees in the right place. Fortunately, you do not need them. A freestanding frame, 2 properly supported posts, or a compact wooden pergola can create a comfortable hanging area almost anywhere in the backyard. This gives you much more control over where the seating goes. Instead of letting the position of existing trees decide everything, choose the spot based on how you actually use the garden. Look at the afternoon sun. Notice where the shade falls around 3 or 4 p.m., especially during the warmer months. Then check which direction gives you the best privacy from neighboring windows, sidewalks, or nearby houses. That is usually a better place for a relaxing seat. If your backyard is small, you may not need a full-size hammock at all. A single hanging chair can provide the same feeling of escape while taking up far less space. It works especially well on a compact patio, beside a flower bed, or in one quiet corner near a garden wall. A pergola can make the area feel even more complete. The same structure that supports the hanging seat can also carry lightweight shade fabric or climbing plants. Over time, the greenery can soften the wood and make the corner feel more connected to the garden. Outdoor curtains are another option when you want a little more privacy. They can help define the seating area without building a permanent wall around it. For renters, a properly designed freestanding frame is often more practical than attaching brackets or hardware directly to the house. It can be moved, repositioned, or taken with you later. And if you are over 60, think carefully about how easy the seat is to enter and leave. A hanging chair that sits very low or swings too freely may look relaxing, but feel awkward in everyday use. Choose a comfortable height and leave enough clear space around it so you can approach without stepping over pots or furniture. Most importantly, do not improvise with the support structure. Hammocks and hanging chairs create significant loads as they move. Use properly rated hardware and make sure the posts, beams, and frame are structurally suitable for the weight they will carry. Once that is done, the result can become one of the most peaceful places in the yard. And you do not need to fill the rest of the space with matching furniture. In fact, the next idea shows how old chairs, benches, and simple stools can look surprisingly cohesive when they are arranged around one strong focal point. 7. Arrange mismatched seating around one strong focal point. You do not need a matching patio set to make a backyard feel organized. In fact, a mix of older chairs, a simple bench, a few stools, and even a sturdy stump can look more inviting when everything is arranged around one clear focal point. Start with what you already own. Maybe you have one wooden bench, 2 chairs from different sets, and a small garden stool that has been sitting near the shed for years. Do not worry if the materials or colors are different. The arrangement matters more than the match. Place the seating in a loose semicircle instead of lining everything up against a fence or wall. This simple change helps people naturally face one another, which makes the space feel more social and comfortable. Now choose one focal point in the middle. It could be a fire bowl, a small fountain, a round coffee table, a large planter, or a simple grouping of lanterns. That central object gives the furniture a reason to be where it is. Without it, mismatched pieces can look accidental. With it, the entire area begins to feel intentional. You can make the different chairs feel even more connected by repeating one design element. Use similar outdoor cushions, one consistent wood tone, matching planter colors, or the same metal finish on nearby accessories. You do not need to make everything identical. Just repeat one detail enough times to visually tie the pieces together. This works especially well in a small backyard or narrow patio, where buying a large 6-piece furniture set may make the space feel crowded. Use only the number of seats you actually need. If 2 people use the yard most days, keep 2 comfortable main seats in the best positions and bring out lighter stools only when guests visit. And leave clear walking space between every piece. That becomes especially important for older viewers who want stable footing and enough room to move without stepping around chair legs, planters, or small tables. The goal is not to fill the patio. It is to create a comfortable conversation zone. A bench, 2 older chairs, and 1 simple focal point can often feel more welcoming than a brand new matching set pushed against the edges of the yard. And once you understand that, there is one final idea that can make the entire backyard feel calmer. Instead of trying to furnish every corner, choose just one small place and give it a clear purpose. 8. Create one small destination corner, instead of furnishing the whole yard. One of the easiest ways to improve a backyard is to stop trying to decorate all of it at once. Choose one small corner and give it a clear purpose. It might become your morning coffee spot, a shaded reading chair, a sunset bench, a tiny fountain retreat, or a quiet place beside herbs and flowers. This approach works especially well if you have a small garden, narrow patio, balcony, or rented outdoor space. It is also ideal if you are over 60 and want something comfortable and beautiful without creating another large area to clean, move, or maintain. A useful destination corner may need only 4 things: 1 comfortable chair, 1 small side table, 1 plant, and 1 focal object. That is enough. For a morning coffee corner, place the chair where it catches gentle early light but avoids harsh afternoon sun. Add a small table within easy reach for a cup, glasses, phone, or book. For a reading corner, look for natural shade beside a wall, under a tree, or near a pergola. If the space feels exposed, place a tall planter, trellis, or umbrella beside the chair. This creates a little privacy without closing the area in. A fountain corner works differently. Place the seat close enough to hear the water clearly, but leave enough room to walk around it comfortably. A small fountain can become the focal point, while the chair simply gives you a reason to stop and enjoy it. The same principle works beside a herb garden. A simple stool or chair near rosemary, lavender, or mint can turn a practical planting area into a place where you actually want to spend time. Before you make anything permanent, test the location. Move a chair into the spot and sit there in the morning, around midday, and again in the late afternoon. Notice the sun. Notice the wind. Notice what you can see from the seat. Sometimes the best place is not where you first expected. And this is the real lesson behind all 8 ideas. You do not need to fill every empty space. You need to make one space feel useful. A single well-placed chair with a small table, a plant, and one object you enjoy can change the way you use the entire backyard. Often, that simple corner will bring you more pleasure than a large matching furniture set ever could. And that brings us back to the question we started with. Before buying something new, what could you already have at home that deserves one more chance? Conclusion: reuse, rearrange, relax. The best backyard is not always the one with the newest furniture. Very often, it is the one that feels comfortable, personal, and easy to use. An old door can become a bench. A tree stump can become a side table. 2 large planters can frame a quiet seat. Wooden crates can provide storage. A forgotten wheelbarrow can become a flower display, and a few mismatched chairs can form a welcoming conversation circle. None of these ideas requires you to completely rebuild your backyard. That is important if you have a small patio, a narrow side yard, a rented deck, limited storage, a modest budget, or simply no desire to spend your weekend lifting heavy materials and operating complicated tools. Start with one corner, move one chair, reuse one object, add one plant, then see how the space feels before buying anything else. For many homeowners, especially those over 60, the most useful garden improvements are often the simplest ones. A comfortable seat at the right height, shade during the hottest part of the day, a table within arm's reach, clear walking space, and a peaceful view worth sitting down to enjoy. Your backyard does not have to impress everyone. It needs to work for you. So before you order that new patio set, take another walk through your garage, shed, balcony, or garden. You may already have the beginning of your next favorite outdoor corner. Now I would love to hear from you. Which of these 8 ideas would you try first? And what old object do you have at home that you would like to reuse in your garden? Share it in the comments below. Your idea may inspire someone else in the pod. Dream room. Community. And if you enjoy practical decorating ideas, natural materials, small space solutions, and simple ways to make your home and garden more beautiful, subscribe to Dream Room and follow the channel for more inspiration. See you in the next video.